As the 2024 Formula One Championship unfolds, Fred Vesseur, a key figure in the racing world, has shared some insightful comments that have set the paddock abuzz. Contrary to popular belief that Max Verstappen would dominate the season, Red Bull's loss in two of the first six races suggests a different story. The championship fight is far from over, and the teams are gearing up for an intense battle on the track. Ferrari, in particular, is making strategic moves to strengthen its position. The Maranello team is planning upgrades for the Emola race and is leaving no stone unturned to gather as much information as possible. These upgrades will be tested a week earlier on a test circuit, indicating Ferrari's determination to challenge the Austrian squad, Red Bull, till the very end of the 2024 campaign. However, the dynamics of the championship could change dramatically with McLaren's significant progress made in Miami and Red Bull's impending upgrades. Could this be the turning point we've all been waiting for? Ferrari is undoubtedly going to be the center of attention in Imola. They are set to introduce the first upgrade package of the season, making them the last team on the grid to do so. Despite this, they have managed to keep the gap to Red Bull relatively small, which is quite an achievement. But Ferrari's ambitions go beyond being the second-best team on the grid. They are aiming to be the fastest and potentially bring a championship-winning car in 2024, without waiting for the new regulations. Fred Vesseur has high hopes for the upgrades, which we'll delve into later in this video. He believes that Red Bull is no longer in the comfort zone they enjoyed last year. According to him, a game-changer in race management is needed, in addition to the upgrades. If Ferrari can take another small step forward, they will be in a strong position to fight with Red Bull every single weekend. This is a significant boost to what was expected at the beginning of the season. Ferrari's initial goals were to maintain a steady curve and keep the upgrades as relevant as possible, so they could fight with Red Bull either at the end of 2024 or the beginning of 2025. However, since the start of the year, Ferrari, a team that was heavily criticized for entering the campaign with an overly conservative car, has made massive progress in the tire management department. They pulled off a one-stopper with Leclerc in Japan and went to the polar extreme of not being able to warm up their tires in China, leading to a negative effect on their performance. This shows that the team has understood one of their biggest weaknesses, which is the long-term pace of the car. While Leclerc was still unable to get past Verstappen, even with the floor damage of the Dutchman's car that his team evaluated cost him 1 to 2 tenths per lap, we must not rush to decisions. With Miami behind us and Emola right around the corner, the upgrades are heavily anticipated. They will likely revolve around the majority of the aerodynamic surfaces to not only improve the airflow of the car, but also the generation of downforce. This means that apart from the side pod concept that will be more or less inspired by the RB20, despite both of the cars headed in a different development direction, the SF24 will have a new and revised side pod inlet and a revamped floor version as well. We should also keep a close eye on the type of front wing the SF24 will start the race with. As we saw with McLaren in Miami, even though the majority of the downforce is generated through the floor, and the greatest downforce emphasis is put on this part, the front wing won't be neglected as it has massive importance on the overall aerodynamic balance of the car. Vesseur still reckons that the top teams are operating in a very close window, and they cannot be expecting an upgrade that would bring them 1 second of performance, similar to what happened with McLaren in Miami. Ferrari is expecting a couple of tenths of a second to be added to their car, and this would be the first out of the 3 massive upgrade packages that Ferrari has planned for their car. Although it's worth mentioning that Red Bull won't be standing still, and they will be applying a lot of upgrades on their own as well. When talking about the expectations from the SF24 in terms of performance gain, Vesseur said, "I'm sure that in Imola we will have a better race by putting everything together. We know that many have brought updates to these races, but we finished ahead. We are at the point in the development of the car where if you bring something, it is not a matter of seconds but of tenths." This is more or less the same opinion that Charles Leclerc has, saying that this current upgrade package is so important that it has the potential to tell Ferrari where they are going to be headed for the remainder of the season. Obviously, a team knows whether they have taken the right path or not by looking at the upgrade package that they have introduced on their car. Ferrari's recent decision to conduct testing at the final circuit to evaluate their upgrades has raised eyebrows. Critics have labeled this move as potentially illegal, given that Ferrari will be testing an upgrade package before they even hit the track in Imola. However, it's important to note that a representative from the FIA will be present at this 100 kilometers event, which both drivers will participate in. This means that there is nothing illicit about this move. The rules allow for such testing if an official representative from the governing body is present to monitor the entire process closely. This is undoubtedly a significant step forward for Ferrari. The commendable work done by Fred Vesseur over the past few years cannot be overlooked. If these upgrades prove to be effective, the anticipated arrival of Adrian Newey, though warmly welcomed, might not be as crucial as initially planned. After all, the British masterminds would have to integrate into a team that is already functioning in a certain pattern without him. While having him on the team would undoubtedly be a massive boost, it might not be something that Ferrari would want to commit to entirely. In addition to this, Ferrari would have to keep a close watch on Red Bull's movements with their own upgrade package. Verstappen and Perez are set to receive the second part of the upgrade that started in Suzuka and will be completed in the upcoming Grand Prix. This is a critical development as it marks the completion of Red Bull's transition to a new design and concept. If they manage to set a new standard that the rest of the grid is forced to chase, we might have to wait until 2026 before we see a competitive season. There's also the looming threat from McLaren, who made a significant leap in Miami. They will have 2 cars instead of 1 in the upcoming weekend with the full upgrade package in Imola. Zak Brown has dubbed Piastri's car as the Lightning McLaren in Emola. While Ferrari's goal is to fight Red Bull for P1 in both championships, they could face a significant challenge for the P2 fight with McLaren. This is something that 2009 world champion Jenson Button has acknowledged. He further added that the correlation between the simulator and the on-track data seems to be amazing at McLaren. The upgrades they introduced last year in Silverstone made a massive difference in terms of where the team will develop their car. He said, "It did what it said on the tin, and that is the most difficult thing in Formula One. In the next couple of races, all eyes will be on McLaren. Red Bull will also be keeping a close watch on McLaren, not just Ferrari. So now the dynamics have shifted. Coming into a race weekend, Red Bull knows that they will be challenged by 2 teams, and their strategy would have to adapt accordingly. They've got to be on their toes the whole time." With all this in mind, do you think that Vasseur's comments hold weight? Could Ferrari have an opportunity to fight Red Bull more frequently for race wins? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share your insights in the comments below.